Right. Start with taking this.
And welcome back, y'all. So going to be doing some maintenance on the Honda Acty today. And the first thing that we got to do is remove this dust cover. There's 4 10mm bolts. And that'll give us direct access to the steering center link, which has got 2 worn out bushings that we're going to press out and replace. And then we'll reinstall. And this should get rid of, or at least help get rid of, the death wobble in the steering wheel. So again, 4 10mm bolts here. That dust cover will come right off. There's going to be 4 cotter pins that we'll need to remove. It's going to be like standard Honda castle nuts and ball joints with cotter pin retention. And you can see them here.
Okie dokie. Alright, so we need to take off this arm, which is bolted through. Okay, so there's a bolt. Okay, there's an axle nut right here. Wow. Fucking nut.
But what I'm talking about here is there's a large centering pin that the center link is attached to.
Alright.
And it requires, as I recall, a 32mm socket to get that nut off. But first you're going to need to get a punch and a hammer. And what the punch and the hammer's for is to beat out the metal that is bent over, locking the nut in place. This is a pretty standard way to lock axle nuts, is just by denting in the side of the nut. So all you gotta do is push that dent or that bent over metal back out, and it'll unlock from the nut, allowing you to hit it with the impact and pull it off, which I'll do here in just a couple of minutes. So before I can get to that centering pin in the big lock nut, I gotta get these cotter pins out here that are locking in the castle nuts. A little longer than a few minutes later. So I sped up this next little sequence. Those cotter pins are really giving me a hard time, but I got most of them out. And then once you get these cotter pins out, you can hit it with the impact or even some hand tools. If you end up rotating the ball joint, you're most likely going to need the impact to make a quick job of it. Otherwise, there's a special tool that you can get that will clamp down on the ball joint, which allowing you to use hand tools to break it free. I was looking for a better camera angle here, and you did get a good look at that big lock nut. So as you can see, it's about 32mm, if I remember right. And a battery impact or an air impact should pull it right off. In correction, I believe that's a 21mm socket, not a 32. Speeding up this sequence here. So this is just taking the castle nuts out of those tie rods and then breaking them loose from the ball joints. The right side just kind of fell off, which was nice. The left side, however, was being a little tough. Needed a little extra convincing. You know, most of the time you can use a hammer, some light tapping, and it'll get the tie rods to come loose off of a ball joint. But this one here was not being too friendly. So eventually I tried pry bar. I'm like, all right, will it pop out? Nope. Well, the good old pickle fork and the 5-pound hammer kind of fixed that problem. The downside to using this combination is that you generally will tear up the rubber boot and you'll see that, which is pretty evident here. But I do believe that boot was pretty messed up beforehand. But in all cases, I do try to minimize any damage to the parts. And if I can not use the pickle fork, I won't. Getting the center link in and out does take a little bit of finagling, so just be patient. Get the pin in the link, and then raise it to the top, and you can kind of slant it to the edge. And then once you get the tip of the center bolt in there, it'll literally drop in place, regardless of how you see me fighting with it here. This was the first time I had ever done this job on an Acty.
That. How?
There's a really big distinction.
That's very interesting.
The right side's big.
Like, there's got to be some way. Well, let's go look at the manual, I suppose. All right.
Which ends up being so I pulls around for me, and he stays forward juice. It's forward juice here. I just like a flat.
Yeah, great play.
Right.
We have to have some music. And we generally want to pick the ones that are going to have very lots of music. They don't flop. So if we have the A side suit here, very, very standard treatment. Even you go over to the handy dandy skill and interest, you can actually make sure that so we're against a
Those are still good. So started the recording a little late, and I didn't get the first two bushing recorded on the disassembly. But to push those bushings out, it's fairly easy. You can use an impact socket that's slightly smaller than the bushing, or if you have, like I do, you have bearing installers, and you can use the one that is smaller than the diameter of the bushing, and they press right on out. Now to install them, as you see here, now off camera I cleaned out the inner diameter of the mount to kind of clean up any rust or anything foreign or deep gouges. Use some emery cloth and some light pressure, kind of smooth anything out. Put a little assembly lube in there, and then just start pressing the new bushings in. Now ensure you have the mount facing the correct direction, because the last thing you want to do is install the mount upside down, or correction, the bushing. You want to have the flange on the bottom of the mount facing downwards. So what I've done, I've ran into an issue here where the bushing kind of bottomed out against that steel plate. So what I need now is a collar or a large impact socket that just has a larger hole in the middle than the bushing, and it'll allow me the space I need to get the last like 2 millimeters of that bushing down. So here I'm just adjusting the press so I have enough room to work with. So this is kind of a Jerry way to get things done. So make sure you wear proper PPE, or at least some form of ballistic glasses. Because if any of this stuff were to fly off under pressure, sorry, your meat's not going to stop it.
Et quelle que belle première course, un regret évidemment, c'est d'avoir vu Lucas Frissinet disparaître
So using that socket didn't really work out because the inner hex was still just too small. So when applying pressure, the bushing was catching the socket and not going into the mount. So here I'm just using the 2 base plates, and I have the mount just positioned in a way that it's going to put the pressure on the arm and allow the bushing to seat completely into the mount.
Ouais, effectivement, Julien qui est resté dans l'attente d'une attaque et puis finalement qui a porté son attaque à une course quasiment, peut-être même un petit peu rapide après la course, un restart d'ailleurs, il me semble. En tout cas, voilà, ça paye avec cette première victoire.
I have no idea what is playing on the TV. I can't even speak French. And just like that, the bushing is now seated into the mount. It looks like we chewed up the bushing on the front there a little, but we'll be all right. Okay. Well, I apologize, y'all, on the reinstall of the center link. I'm going to be honest with you. It appears that I thought I hit record and never did. So it looks like I'm just catching the tail end here of just putting the splash guard into place. But as you can see, I did replace the torn up boot on the center link. Everything appears to be back in place, nice and tight. New cotter pins went in to all the ball joints. And this is just, I believe, 4 10mm bolts, as I recall. So this took a fair amount of wobble out of the steering wheel above like 50 kilometers an hour, which is roughly somewhere around, 26 or 30-ish miles an hour.
Steering's gonna be fucking fantastic now.
But the biggest thing that is going to take the majority of that wobble out is those front radius arms have really large rubber bushings, and they're OEM. So I doubt they've ever been replaced. They do have some play in them. They are on order. So look forward to that video here soon, whenever they come in the mail. And if you would, hit that like, subscribe button. You can hit the bell for notifications. And if you really want to be ambitious, you can put a comment down below.
All right.
You can even share the channel. Take it easy, y'all.